Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be diving into my new spider team in honor of the release of the new level 25 dungeons, the 21 through 25 stages that have been released. I'll get into everything from the masteries of the champions, why I'm using the champions I'm using, showing it in action, and then showing changes that I'm willing to make in the future when I summon better champions and stuff. We'll dive into all these topics, so let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, I'm not going to bore you because I've covered this 2 or 3 times already in dedicated stuff, but I have decided to go with building a Spider 24 team. I can build a Spider 25 team that is mostly similar in terms of speed and everything. You can see here 24 is 50 seconds best time, 25 is 51. Honestly, I can probably build a Spider 25 team slightly faster, but just to quickly for a few seconds show you why, on the bottom right of this graph, you'll see here that the Spider sell all, that's like the silver you're getting per energy refill. Stage 24 is 542,000. Stage 25 is 496,000. That is a lot. That is like a 10% difference in silver. That is going to add up to a ton over the course of a few months. So that is why I decided to go with stage 24 instead of stage 25, because the gear is mostly comparable. I get it. I know 25, you get slightly better gear, but that much silver, I don't want to say no to that over the course of time, so I'm willing to sacrifice just that tiny bit of gear in order to get that much more silver. So that's the short reason why I built a team for Spider 24, and this is the team. So first, I'll go ahead, just show you it in action, then we'll dive into kind of the discussion about why I went this route, and I'll show you all the relevant stats and masteries and stuff if you're trying to copy a team for yourself. But really, I didn't have to change a whole lot on most of them. I had to change like probably Chymer and the Cold Hearts the most, just to get the speeds to line up. So this team will basically do it anywhere between 50 and you can have bad RNG and it takes like a minute and a half. So 50 seconds to a minute and a half. There are faster teams out there. Most of them involve champions I don't have. Something like a Mordecai, who I sacrificed for the Underpriest Brogni fusion, or Sishia, the new legendary that is just insane in the spider, or some sort of champion I don't have. You think Tyrant is another one I don't have. Tyrant Ixlamore, the Magic Affinity reskin of Prince Chymer. I don't have him. So a lot of the faster teams that are doing 20, 25, 30-second runs, they've got some combination of champions that I don't have access to. So in terms of me building a team that would be 100% win rate and fairly consistent, that I can count on if I'm gonna AFK farm the spider and get that efficient gear and silver blend of a grind, this is what I went with, was the double Cold Heart. Chymer for the reset. I will probably replace Chymer. I actually don't have a Renegade, so I'm going to be using a Renegade. The next one I summon, I must have sacrificed my rare Renegade for food at a time, and I wish I didn't. But there's 2x Voids coming up, and if I get a Renegade, I will probably make that swap and change it out for the Chymer. And then the Miscreated Monster is just to make sure it's a 100% win rate. I've got the shields to keep everybody alive, keep the core 4 going, and then Ignatius is obviously who I'm using for the HP burn. HP burn is kind of the hot strat on the street now for these new spider stages. So now let's go ahead. I'll show you the gear I'm using, the stats, masteries, all that type of stuff. So first we'll go ahead and dive into Miscreated Monster. This one I barely had to change. It was just kind of my standard Miscreated Monster build. Brought it right in and slotted in just fine. So here is the total stats on my Miscreated. You're focusing on like speed, HP, the crit rate helps him place more shields. That's the main concern on Miscreated. So not a whole lot to talk about. His build is pretty standard. But if you want to see the masteries on my Miscreated, it is right here. And then let me move my camera just in case you want to see. Right there is the masteries I'm using on mine, the Helm Smasher, to go ahead and get tons of shields when that procs. Then for the Ignatius, I did want to swap his gear around just a little bit. The problem with Ignatius is he's actually one of the harder hitting defensive champions, which is normally a great thing, but in this context, you want the spiderlings to stay alive. So in an HP burn strategy, you're trying to place HP burn on the spiderlings and then let them go ahead and stay alive and take turns. So Ignatius hitting hard can actually be a problem. So you want to lower his crit rate, you want to lower his defense, his abilities scale with defense, so getting that multiplier to not hit quite so hard. You don't want high crit damage, high crit rate, high defense, or anything that's going to make him hit harder than he already does. So I did have to change his build a little bit just to lower it. I had his crit rate way higher, his crit damage way higher, I had his defense higher, so I lowered those type of things just to make him not hit quite so hard. And then this is the masteries that I went for on him. I didn't want to go offense masteries again because I don't want him to hit super hard, so I just went with the defense and support tree. If you want time to kind of print screen this and look at it or pause the video, I'll leave that up for just a couple seconds here. And then one side note that's really, really cool about Ignatius is his AoE HP burn cannot be resisted. So you can go 0 accuracy in a spider context if you're not worried about landing the provoke and like keeping your cold hearts alive or some special situation. You can go ahead a 0 accuracy build and he'd be super easy to build for a spider context. He places that HP burn, it can't be resisted, and boom, you're off the races. Then for my 2 cold hearts that I'm using, you can see here one has the heart and one has the 2 icon next to it. So they're both mostly similar. The interesting thing about the new spider strategy is that they have now capped the enemy max HP hitting abilities and how hard they're going to hit on these new stages of bosses. So as long as your cold heart's hitting, I think depending on the stage, it's around like 700 or 800k that she's going to hit for. So as long as you're hitting that, you don't have to worry about getting more crit damage. I think these have way too much, like the 173 plus 57, and yeah, these have like 200 something. That's way too much crit damage. I think you really only need around like 100 crit damage, like 90 to 115, somewhere in there. It's actually pretty low to hit that threshold because that enemy max HP is so high on the boss that it's able to hit that max. So these have way too much, but that'll help them in other situations and stuff. And in order to get the build to work, I didn't need to really mess with it any more than I already did. But that does free you up. The main thing on that is to go for an amulet that is HP or something, because you don't need that crit damage on that roll. So I would say it's most impactful on the gloves and the amulet, because maybe you can swap out your crit damage gloves, makes those thresholds a little bit easier to hit, or swap out the amulet to get more toughness. That would be the main area that it affects there, because now with the way that it is kind of blocked in terms of its scaling, you don't need that insane like 300 crit damage cold heart for a spider strap. Another thing worth talking about is I had to make them both decently fast, not crazy fast, but I think one is 219 and one is 224 or something. And you'll see why. That'll make sense here pretty quickly when I show you the last iteration of the build. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're at least 70% crit rate, because she gets a 30% bonus on her Heartseeker, and you actually don't really want her AoE to crit. So the closest you can get to 70%, that is ideal, because remember, we don't want to kill those spiderlings. We don't want to hit them super hard. So the closest you get to 70 in a spider context, the better. I've got her at 76. Getting that to 70 and lowering the crit damage would be even more ideal for this build. But I found that I was able to kind of make it work with some of this little bit of changes. And then the other cold heart right here, if we pull that up, it should be 224 speed. Yeah, try to get that crit rate close to 70, and I could easily lower their crit damage quite a bit. And that may even help me to make it easier to keep those spiderlings alive. If I so that would be an optimal change to make, is to lower the crit damage, especially if you're not going to use your cold hearts in any other spot of the game. But then if you want the masteries that I'm using right here, and I can move myself out of the way again, this is going to be the masteries I'm on my cold heart. Remember, you know, in this context, if you just care about the spider, you would probably want to take War Master, because that will stack on top of the enemy max HP ability. Boom, you'll max that out. Then you'll get a War Master proc on top of that. So honestly, if you're just worried about the spider, don't really copy this. I would go for most of this is fine, but I would switch over to War Master if you're only using her in the spider. And then the last champion I'm using in this new spider team is going to be Prince Chymer. Now, I want to preface this because I don't want you to get intimidated. His gear is insane, and it's by far the toughest thing to do in this build, but don't let it freak you out. So just brace yourselves when I show you my Chymer's gear and realize that you can get there if you work hard too. So there it is. There is the insane gear on my Chymer. It took a lot of hard work to finally get it to happen, but we were able to get it done. But no, so the Chymer is basically naked. And the reason is, you could min-max this and get him some toughness. The problem is, I wanted his speed to be low, because I want my cold hearts to get 2 turns before my Chymer. That way they will do their Heartseeker, because they don't prioritize their Heartseeker. They do that stupid AoE, and then their next turn they do the Heartseeker. So I want them to get 2 turns, then Chymer resets, and that's what makes the run kind of function smoothly. So I have to get them 2 turns before my Chymer. And like I said, once I get a Renegade on my account, instead of feeding it for food like an idiot, then I'm going to replace Chymer with a Renegade. I'm going to redo the team a little bit, but it works just fine in this context. I just had to get the speed super low, and him being naked basically worked just fine. And if you want to see the Chymer Masteries right here, but these weren't really a big deal. He has the Fearsome Presence because I used to have him in a stun set with his AoE A1, but the Mastery is not really a big deal on his context of it. Really, the Masteries are, you got a lot of wiggle room in the strategy for the Masteries in terms of the multiple different things and different ways you could use it. So fortunately, you got a lot of different ways you can go about the Masteries on a build like this for a spider context. But yeah, one more time, I'll show you now that you know the team and how it works. You'll see my Cold Hearts will do their AoE, then they'll get that second turn, they'll do their Heartseeker, then Chymer will go ahead, reset everything, and then my that'll mean my Cold Hearts get 4 Heartseekers, and you can see those HP burns just ticking away, slamming the spider HP. There's the Heartseekers. And as long as they hit for 700,000 or 800,000, depending on the stage, you should be just fine. On Spider 24, I believe the max is 737,000. If we see another one, I'll try to keep track of it. But yeah, on Spider 24, as long as your Cold Hearts are hitting for 737, I believe that's kind of the sweet spot to make sure you're getting to. So let's see here. Yep, there it is. 737 on the Heartseeker. And then as long as the other one coming right up, boom, 737. Yep, okay, so that's the threshold to hit on your Cold Heart. And again, it's very easy to get to, like literally 100 crit damage will get it done as long as you've got the 70% crit to make sure that it crits with that bonus 30. And then you've got just that little bit of crit damage. You should be able to hit that 737, but that's what you want to make sure you're kind of looking for on that number. And when I have a good run, it goes about 50-something seconds. But unfortunately, here live on video, of course, it hasn't been going super smooth. It's been taking like a minute and a half or so. But it is a 100% win rate at least. And as long as I'm clicking it overnight, as long as it's a realistic time, it's totally fine. But once I get like Sishia or something crazy, I'll try to go for like that insane team that does it in like 20-25 seconds or something. So that'll do it for me on this one. And good luck on your new dungeon teams. I will keep you up to date on which teams I am using and why to help you kind of build towards those end stages 21 through 25. So as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.